Since the last time we gathered with the hospital, I thought it would be appropriate for me just to take a few minutes and reinforce the path we are advocating, or at least I'm advocating, as we continue to deal with this ongoing battle with COVID-19. Just to start off, and really this is what most of this will be about, I will not be issuing any new initiatives or mandates that are in addition to what we've done or what we're trying to continue to do. Now, this doesn't mean that members of City Council are precluded from introducing any mandates related to masks or other requirements they might individually believe necessary based on their convictions and based on their policy values and views. We welcome that, and we can have that discussion and debate. But as for me, I will not be in support of a mask mandate, but I am deeply committed to a community call to action regarding our safety with masks and the other things we do in public. As you know, there are three things we are all free to responsibly practice to protect ourselves and everyone else during these difficult days that we face. Let me just go over a couple of those, and I know you already know what those are, but I will put my opinions and my conclusions in these as well. Number one, the wearing of masks, which is the hot topic in debate right now. Until I'm overruled by a vote of the City Council, I'm not going to mandate the wearing of masks on my own, nor will I become the party to a city that is policing and citing the general public for not wearing a mask. Any mandate by the governor is unenforceable in this particular arena, and some of the mandates are still unenforceable in other areas, as is any mandate we would hand down here in Midland. Not to mention, we've already come really, really close, as I've mentioned before, to trampling civil liberties in ways we have treated businesses and the way we have treated free people in some of the things we have made people to do. Having said that, I do hope that businesses will follow the lead of what we're doing at the city, as well as what businesses like H-E-B and many others are doing as well in interacting with the public. My hope is the community sense of responsibility is intense enough that we will all do something many of us don't like to do, most of us don't like to do, which is the wearing of masks in public places where social distancing is not possible, or even when we're with our family and friends and there's a sense of discomfort or needing to protect those around us. At the very outset of this epidemic, I was told over and over again that I had to issue a stay-at-home order, way back in March, over and over again. The mask mandates being issued throughout most of the cities and counties of our state are just like the stay-at-home orders that were issued in the early days of this matter, filled with exceptions that are as vague as you could possibly imagine. In fact, one of the exceptions, very prevalent, is the following: a person does not have to wear a mask for reasons of personal health. Imagine that conversation as you walk into a place and tell them, I'm not wearing a mask for my personal health. Whether it's a stay-at-home order or a mask order, it's still going to boil down to personal responsibility and care for one another. That's the first issue, the wearing of masks. The second and third, I don't have to spend any time on. We're all aware of social distancing. In fact, most of us have probably been in situations where we've seen people back up from us, or we have backed up from them. There could be a fourth issue, which is staying home as often as you can, staying home more than you usually stay home. And some of your companies have already begun trimming back the workforce. Those are all protective measures. But now let me move to a different subject, which is just some clarity on some issues. So there's no I'm not being vague at all in what I'm trying to communicate here. Number one, I was very disappointed in the selective nature of closing bars from Governor Abbott. I believe bars should have every right that restaurants have to operate within proper safety measures. I understand where he was coming from. It did seem to me like one particular area was being singled out. Unfortunately, this is a matter that bar owners are going to have to deal with as the licensing department of the state is out and about, ready to issue cease and desist orders and even pull liquor licenses. Doesn't seem right to me that a bar has to close, but a restaurant with a bar doesn't have to operate in the same way. Once again, when we start picking and choosing what we think is healthy and essential, we destroy livelihoods, we destroy businesses, and in some cases, we destroy lives. The second thing, it's become very clear over the last month that everyone is getting very stressed, very worried and fearful in this season that we all are having to endure. I understand that. Our nerves are frayed. Our tensions are high. Our fear is high. And there are very few answers to be found in this black hole of information we find ourselves surrounded by. My email as well is filled with very little of anything other than vitriol, hate, and worry. Nevertheless, I'm not making a decision about masking based on the Republican Party or special interests or any degree of email. This is my personal leadership conviction, and I'm more than willing to stand on it, and I'm more than willing to lose by it. I still believe in the goodness of the people of Midland and the Basin to do the right thing for their neighbor and by their neighbor and to their neighbor. Following on the heels of this, my faith in what we can do as a community is only possible because of what I saw you do in March and April and most of May. We know what we have to do, and we're going to have to go ahead and do it. But let's be clear, until there's a vaccine, which will be entirely a new debate on the merits and mandates of a vaccine. We can all imagine the debate that will happen about a vaccine. Or we get to some form of herd immunity. Another step I'm not sure we have the stomach to work through, nor should we. But we will be bouncing back and forth through this trampoline of tension and worry, masking and hygiene and distancing, all in the midst of an onslaught of national media hysteria on both sides. Let me pause here. This is not in this transcript, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart to all of you who are in the local media here. I still believe you're doing a fantastic job. When I see the cacophony of noise coming out of the left and the right and the national media and all the hyperbole and everything happening, I want to personally thank you for weeding through it, for giving people information and helping people to see a very calm and balanced view. I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. Personally, I will not endorse the ongoing pressure to further mandate the actions of people. I am comfortable with this personal conviction, and I am quite comfortable with whatever this conviction would cost me in the future. Over the last several months, we have not just come dangerously close to violating civil liberties, we have violated civil liberties. We have closed down businesses because of some arbitrary designation of essential versus non-essential, all while essential businesses sell the same products. Non-essential businesses are now going out of business because they can't sell. I'm hoping we're past those days. We have shut down the right of people to worship. Mask ordinances around the state are allowing exceptions to places of worship now that we're seeing how some of this plays out. But you can't go tubing in the great outdoors, and you can't stand outside on a patio socially distanced and enjoy beer with someone. We have mandated that families cannot even mourn the loss of their loved ones without certain restrictions. When we are jumping through hoops with exceptions and explanations, we are not serving the people. We are controlling and we are manipulating the people. In the midst of all of this panic associated with the unknown, we have demonstrated how easily we as a people, not West Texans, but I want you to think about the nation we're a part of. We have seen how easily people will succumb to the king when we can't control something or we don't feel safe. In less than 1 week, maybe 2, in March of this year, the kings and queens of Washington, D.C. and Austin shut the entire country down uniformly and in some cases unnecessarily. Are we still dealing with a virus? Absolutely. Are there easy solutions? Absolutely not, except for the things we're being asked to do right now. But free Americans and free Texans must not so easily allow a fractious, divided, and politically motivated body of values lightweights to dictate day-to-day living to a degree it kills people economically, socially, and even physically. Free people know the right thing to do, and we're prepared to live with the consequences of our actions. The people living in tyranny freely give their rights away to an empty promise of provision and protection. Out here in West Texas, we still believe in the power of a free people, even when we can't see the enemy. And that is why I believe wholeheartedly the same group of people that made great progress in March and April and May will step up to the plate, do what's necessary, and make great progress here in July as we weather the next 2 to 3 weeks to see if we can make another difference. Thanks for your time. Those are my comments. I'd be happy to take questions.
Media members, remember you can type it in the chat or use the raise your hand feature and I'll unmute you. Okay, we'll give them just a little bit, Mayor Payton.
Sure, no worries.
Okay. Sammy, go ahead.
Hey there, Mayor. Have you reached out to Governor Abbott about your disagreement with his decision about the executive order closing bars? Have you voiced that to him?
On that specific issue, Sammy, I have not reached out to the governor. He is fully aware of what the details of what we would like to see happen, but I have not taken a chance to secondarily reach out in this regard. Really, Sammy, in relationship to that, we all have to realize that we're pretty much dealing with, even though we have a spike in numbers and we're seeing it related to a particular demographic for the most part, the part that's most disappointing is the wholesale closing and opening of not only bars and other businesses, it's how it's being uniformly applied throughout the state when we know what we're dealing with is primarily what's happening in Houston, what's happening in Austin, and some places like Dallas. But I have not reached out to him directly. He knows through previous emails what our expectations are.
Yeah, I also have another question. What was I going to say? Oh, have you worked closely with, talk to me about the relationship working with Odessa on this pandemic. How much of a partnership has it been?
Well, I've spent a lot of time on the phone with Mayor Turner. Primarily the relationship is us talking back and forth about where each one of us are headed or where we're not headed or what we're trying to see done. And so really it's just been a partnership of communication to make sure that we are, for the most part, not always in all things, but we're trying to be on the same page, knowing that we have communities that are traversing back and forth between the two.
Yeah, and then I know you can't speak for the councilman and woman, but is anyone on council been forward in wanting a mask mandate? Are you aware of?
I'd rather not make a comment about that, but we'll find out in the next few weeks, well, in less than a week, if there are council members or councilwomen that are interested in pursuing that. But I'd rather not make a comment about what I do or do not know about what their intentions are.
Understandable. Thanks, Mayor.
Sure, thank you.
I don't have any other questions in the chat. Any other media members want to raise your hand before we sign off?
Hey, did you tell the media your news?
I didn't.
I'm ratting you out right now.
That now everybody knows.
I know, but that's what's going to happen. Okay. Just tell them right now.
For those that don't know, I'm engaged.
That'll make them raise their hands now. So.
Okay, I don't think this is on that, but Sammy has one more question.
Oh yeah, future Mrs. Droll. Let's go. Woo! Also, it looked like a legendary proposal. I mean,
he did a good job.
Your fiance came out swinging. Literally, there at the baseball field. Yeah. My question is for, Mayor Payton, in regards to helping small businesses, is there anything in particular that you're doing that maybe is in the works to help those small businesses in Midland?
Yeah, two things. Number one, small businesses still need to be looking into what the federal government is providing through PPP. In some instances, we've heard that's been exhausted, but I've also read recent reports that there are millions of dollars being left on the table. So I'd start in that regard as well. Secondly, small businesses can be reaching out to the Midland Development Corporation, the MDC, which has also begun a program and is working through the details of a program to help small businesses. It's not a huge amount, but it's help for small businesses. So they need to reach out to the MDC as well with programs we're instituting for small businesses.
Great.
All right, Aaron, thank you.